Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video of the USA forecast for today's second video. So as always on a Wednesday, having a look at the weather for the next 10 to 14 days for the United States. We'll be able to extend out beyond that to 4 weeks out, which takes us to early July. We extended CFS V2. I'll get on that view in a second. To say that the first video release today was our 7 AM upload, and we've got a 10 to 14 day for the United Kingdom and for Northern Europe to come shortly as well. Please like, share, subscribe on all videos. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Right, so going to begin in the tropical Atlantic. See if there's any developments going on there. This is from National Hurricane Center at the moment. They're saying tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 48 hours. It's relatively quiet through the tropical Atlantic. This is from tropicaltidbits.com. This is the midnight GFS forecast for like the Atlantic and the tropical Atlantic. So so you know where everybody is. This is like the east coast of the states here. That's Florida, just there. This is the Gulf of Mexico. Through here, Caribbean, through there, Mexico is just there, South America, like Brazil, and so on. Down here, we've got the coast of Africa through there, and then we come up to like Spain, for example, Azores just there, Canary Islands just there, and all of this is like the subtropical and tropical Atlantic Ocean. Right, so that's a geography lesson. There's some for today. Right, let's have a look at the mean sea level pressure anomaly. Then anomalies from the GFS midnight run for the next 10 to 14 days. So we'll run through this very quickly. Of course, the idea is that red is going to be high pressure, blue will be low pressure. So next few days, relatively quiet through the tropical Atlantic as we go into the end of the week and on into the weekend. There is a little bit of a development just there. I don't think that will be a tropical storm, but just like an area of low pressure moving out of the east coast of America into the Atlantic, another one following just there. This is sort of down in the southeast corner there, around the Carolinas, but I don't think these will be tropical storms. So as we get through into the weekend, this is Saturday, I've got an area of low pressure just here exiting out of the east and southeastern part of America. As I say, I don't think that will be a tropical storm, but it is kind of in the subtropical Atlantic. So bit of disturbance area. I assume it will show up on this chart, but I don't think it will be named as a tropical storm, but we'll have to see, of course, about that. Actually, you can have a look at like the 5-day forecast. So they're focusing down here for the 5-day, but up off the east coast of America, it doesn't look like that will be anything particularly significant in terms of a tropical storm, just an area of low pressure, I think. Right, so running further out into the early part of next week, and now there's another little disturbance area just here. It's a little bit further southwards off the coast of the Carolinas. So again, that might, show up on the chart as a disturbance area. Again, not much going on through the tropical Atlantic itself, but as we move out into the latter stages of next week, we do start to see an area of low pressure forming in the Gulf of Mexico. Interestingly, that could be a little bit more significant. So there we have an area of low pressure heading through the Gulf onto the Texas coast there on Saturday, 19th of June. That might be a tropical storm and or hurricane, probably a bit early for a hurricane, but it might be a tropical storm moving northwards through the Gulf of Mexico. It's a long way out, that's over a week away, but GFS is certainly picking up on something there in the Gulf as we move into the second half of June. Otherwise, again, relatively quiet through the tropical Atlantic itself. You see that area of low pressure now moved inland into like the state of Texas and so on. Otherwise, relatively quiet through the tropical Atlantic itself. Not much in the way of low pressure getting going there. And that takes us up to the end of the GFS run, which gets us to the 25th of June. So a few areas of low pressure knocking around the southeastern part of America over this weekend into part of next week. And then later next week, possibly something getting going through the Gulf of Mexico, moving up towards the Gulf Coast of the United States. It's very early for any form of development. We're only in June. We don't normally expect to start seeing developments until into July or August, really. So very early to be seeing any form of developments in June. Again, probably just giving the idea that this is going to be another relatively big tropical storm season once again. Of course, we will wait and see about that. We'll be bringing you up to date every week with what's happening in the tropical Atlantic, of course. Right, let's move on into the forecast part of this then. So we're going to have a look at the GFS air temperatures and precipitation anomalies for the ensembles, I should say, for the next couple of weeks. Look at Frederick in Maryland today. So red line is 30 upper air temperature average for Frederick. We're starting off warmer than average at the moment. We'll see the upper air temperatures coming down closer to average over the next few days. And then next week there may be quite a plunge in the temperature taking place, actually, just as we move into the second half of June. Quite a big drop in the upper air temperatures. Notable there's some really quite chilly upper air temperatures coming through for a day or so's time before they very quickly start to recover as we move towards the final week of June. But yeah, nothing overly dramatic going on temperature wise, quite close to or a bit above average over the next few days, and then later next week there's a drop in the temperature, but could be quite notable. It is quite a significant drop in temperature, but only quite brief, and then lifting the temperature back up as we move on into towards the last week of June. Precipitation wise, there's going to be plenty of precipitation as well, so lots of heavy showers and thunderstorms coming through over the next few days. Maybe a little bit drier through this period around the middle part of the month, but still with some showers. And then moving on towards the final sort of week or so of June, the rainfall is coming back once again, actually. Temperature anomalies on the 9th through to 17th of June for America are generally warmer than average in most areas, especially so for these western states away from the Pacific coast. Now, the Pacific coastal states themselves are actually rather cool, a little bit on the cool side, but moving inland, the heat really is building through these western and southwestern states and in towards the Rocky Mountain states and so on. Further eastwards, actually, it's a little bit on the cool side as we come in towards the east and the southeast. There is going to be a bit of a cool down coming up later on next week. Precipitation anomalies look like that. Very dry, of course, in these western and southwestern states, as you expect at this time of year. Quite dry around Midwest as well. Down towards the southeast part of America, it's a little bit wetter through there. In the far northwest, of course, as it often is, close to the Pacific northwestern coast, there it looks a little bit more unsettled as well. Right, so this is how the setup is today with the latest GFS run. So still a very warm scene across many parts of America. At the moment, have a look at the upper air temperature. You see it's pretty hot in most areas. These far western, northwestern states are cool, though, as the areas coming in of the Pacific Ocean. So relief through these western, northwestern states, quite cool through there. Come inland, see the heat really does start to build through these western and southwestern states away from the Pacific. And then generally quite a warm scene really through many of the Midwestern and Eastern states as well. The upper air temperature is pretty hot through there too. Moving through the rest of the week, we see this area of low pressure begin to develop up towards Canada. That will start to pull cooler air into the north from Canada, but still pretty warm actually across most parts of America as we go through in towards the weekend. But later on in the weekend, we will see a change starting to take place. Upper air temperatures look generally quite hot, really, through most areas into the weekend. A little bit cooler towards the eastern seaboard, but still pretty warm. And these western coastal states like California, for example, they will be warming up as well as we go into the weekend. Right, so then into next week, you find this area of low pressure developing around Canada and start to push cooler air into the northern and northeast states. This is where this drop in temperature is coming from mid-month. As we get this ridge building through these western and central states, we start to get this trough developing in the north and northeast, pulling cooler air down from the north. So look at the upper air temperatures. Quite a plunge in the upper air temperatures taking place through the Midwest and pushing into the east as we go through into the early part of next week. That is quite a significant drop in temperature. At the same time, the heat really builds out in the west. Look at this surge of heat from like Arizona and those southern states pushing northwards all the way up towards the Canadian border. Again, towards the Pacific coast itself, it is a little bit cooler there, but you won't have to come very far inland before you find the heat building up through those western and southwestern states. Intensely hot in the southwest, temperatures widely, into the 100s Fahrenheit with that, which is typical, of course, for that part of America at this time of the year, but much cooler on the eastern side of the ridge in these eastern and northeastern parts of America, probably with some heavy showers and thunderstorms, maybe even longer spells of rain being triggered by that area of low pressure. This cool and showery weather for northern and eastern and midwestern states continues into Wednesday. At the same time, the heat continues, though, in the west and in the southwest. Again, there's the upper air temperatures for Wednesday next week, showing a proper east-west split, hot in the west, much cooler in the east. The far Pacific coast, of course, in the northwest is looking cooler and fresher through there. And then moving towards day 10, we begin to find the ridge slipping eastwards, and we start to pull up those hotter winds back into more central, midwestern, and eventually, ultimately, probably eastern states as well. So we start to revert back to a warmer scenario as we get towards day 10. This is day 10, Saturday, 19th of June. By then, it looks like the heat's beginning to push back northwards again through these midwestern and eastern states. At the same time, though, probably quite cool and showery out in the west and in the northwest. So this is how the upper air temperatures are set up for day 10. You see it is warming up quite clearly through the midwest and into the east now as that ridge slips over towards the eastern side of America. And generally a very hot scene through the western, southwestern states as well. Any cooler, fresh weather is really up in the far north towards the Canadian border, and again around this Pacific northwestern coast. And then we head on in towards the extended range, which takes us well into second half of June. And then we're pulling up hot southerly winds through those midwestern and eastern states at the same time. The northwest and the west, perhaps a little bit cooler through there. That's how the upper air temperatures are looking forecast to be as we get through to the end of the GFS run, which today gets to Friday, 20th of June. Hot scene across most parts of America, but far northern, northeastern states, perhaps a little bit cooler through there, but extreme heat through these western states and pushing towards the Pacific coastal states as well by this point. Very intense heat in the west, and that heat sort of expanding out across many other parts of America as well as we get through to the last stages of June. So if you're in the Midwest, in the east, you like cool summer conditions, then enjoy next week's cool down, because after that, when we get into the last week of June, it looks like the heat will be building across many parts of America for the last week of June. This is how the ECM is looking. The Euro very similar in terms of setup at the moment. It's a very warm scene across many parts of America. At this point, it is cooler though around these western and northwestern coastal states. We move on into the early part of next week. Again, you see from the upper air temperatures, extreme heat through these western states begin to push back towards the Pacific coastal states as well through the early part of next week. A little bit different to what the GFS is showing. But generally a very warm scene across most parts of America into the early part of next week. And then this area of low pressure digs down from Canada through the Midwest and into the east, bringing heavy showers, long spells of rain and thunderstorms, also pulling cooler air from the north. At the same time, though, these western states will be really hot. Look at the contrast in the upper air temperatures from the middle of next week. Extreme heat, dangerous heat through furnace heat through much of the west, all the way from Mexico going right the way up to the Canadian border. Very, very extreme heat through there. A little bit of relief towards the Pacific northwestern coast, but at the same time, these eastern northeastern states on the eastern side of a ridge of high pressure, much cooler with a trough of low pressure digging in from Canada. There'll be showers, long spells of rain, and temperatures will actually be cooler than average through many of those midwestern and eastern states. Later next week, things will start to change as the ridge begins to slip southeastwards. We'll begin to pull hotter winds back up from the south again through the Midwest and into the east. That's how the upper air temperatures look next weekend. Extreme and dangerous heat again through most parts of the western states. The heat begins to extend out into those eastern and midwestern states as well. That is day 10, Saturday the 19th of June. So we're going to be cooler weather for a time next week in the Midwest and in the east, but make the most of that if that's the kind of weather you enjoy, because we're going to get through to the last week of June, and it's probably going to be very, very hot by then. Just have a look at CFSV2. So these are 500 millibar heights bring down to week periods. The first week period takes from the 8th to 14th of June. The coming week has this ridge of high pressure through these northern and central states, which will pull up the heat into the west, of course, although next to the Pacific coast itself, we've got a cooling trough of low pressure that will keep things a little bit cooler towards the Pacific coast. But coming land through those central western states, it will be hot. And then the east is going to be a little bit cooler with a bit of a trough through there. We go through to week 2, which is going to be the 15th, 21st of June. Again, the ridge is through these western states. That's where the heat is likely to be. Trough low pressure in the east will bring cooler conditions to those eastern, midwestern and northeastern states. Week 3 looks like that. It's going to be the 22nd, 28th of June. A ridge then in the southeastern corner, trough low pressure away towards Newfoundland. I think it's probably just a warming up week, really, trying to push the warmth and the heat back northwards again. And then we get through to week 4, which will be the 29th of June to 5th of July. High pressure is off the eastern seaboard of America by then. Trough low pressure looks like it's coming to the Midwest, and there's a ridge off the Pacific coast. So that may be cooler again through the Midwest and most central states, but in the east, probably bringing up quite a warm or hot southerly wind through those eastern coastal states. Let's have a look at temperature anomalies. So really warm across many parts of America this week, the 8th to 14th of June. Hot through many of the states. It is cooler towards the Pacific coast and around the eastern, southeastern part of America as well. Week 2 shows extreme heat. This is the 15th, 21st June. Extreme heat through the central and western states. The cooler temperatures are in the east and in the northeast and in the Midwest. Week 3, just also a little bit cooler really across many parts of America. The heat then is in the northwest and through the southern, southeast states. Otherwise, it looks like it's a little bit cooler in week 3 through those central states. And then get through to week 4, which is the 29th of June to the 5th of July. And the CFS then has a three-way split, hot in the west, hot in the east, and then a little bit cooler through these central states. Precipitation-wise, look like that for week 1, which is the 8th to the 14th of June. Cooler towards the northwest, wetter, I should say, towards the northwest, and wetter through these eastern states, drier through the northern and central states. Go through to week 2, which is the 15th, 21st of June, and it's dry in the east and the northeast, wet in the south and in the southeast. Maybe, a bit of a hint of some sort of tropical development there from the Gulf going on to that southeastern sort of Gulf Coast. Week 3 will be the 22nd, 28th of June, so quite wet from west coast to the east coast, dryish up towards Canada, and drier around the Gulf as well. And then week 4 will be the 29th of June to 5th of July. Dry around the Gulf Coast, wet in the east, in the northeast, otherwise near normal through those central and western states. Right, so the big story is definitely going to be like the heat in the southwest pushing northwards up the western side, away from the coast anyway, away from the Pacific. Going to be very hot next week, in the west. The east is going to be cooler though, so as I say, if you enjoy like cooler conditions in those eastern, northeastern, midwestern states, then make most of next week, because it is going to be quite cool for a few days, and probably quite wet as well with heavy showers and thunderstorms. But I'd say make most of that, because I think beyond that we will find the heat expanding back out again from the south and from the southwest, with many parts of America turning hotter into the final week of June, probably. If you enjoy this USA forecast, then please can you like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. And of course, the wider point is what's going on in the tropical Atlantic. Still relatively quiet in the tropical Atlantic at the moment, but there are a few sort of disturbance areas beginning to appear, especially that one in the Gulf, in around a week to 10 days' time. So that needs to be kept a very close eye upon, and we will continue to do so here on the channel. Right, so that's it for USA forecast for this week. We'll do it all again next Wednesday, but for this USA forecast, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.